In just the last 2 weeks, a quiet storm has been brewing in America's food industry. 6 major grocery items, names you probably shop from every week, are now standing on the edge of total collapse. Why? Because a wave of retaliatory tariffs just kicked in, and the ripple effects are moving faster than anyone expected. Shelves are thinning, prices are climbing, and even loyal customers are walking away. What you're about to see is more than a list. It's a warning. If your grocery items are on this countdown, your grocery routine may never look the same again. Prices are climbing. Brands are vanishing. If you want the truth without the noise, hit subscribe. Stay sharp, stay ready. Number 1. Avocados. Have you ever stood in front of the produce section at Walmart, reached for a soft green avocado, and then paused not because of ripeness, but because of the price tag? It wasn't like this before. Just 2 years ago, you could throw 2 or 3 avocados into your cart without a second thought. They were affordable, healthy, and everywhere. But now, something feels different. The price stings, the shelves aren't always full, and sometimes, what's left looks bruised or underripe. You might not be imagining it because behind the scenes, avocados have become one of the most fragile foods in America's grocery system. Avocados aren't just another fruit. They're a routine part of breakfast, lunch, and dinner in millions of homes. Toast for young couples, guacamole at game night, heart-healthy fats for seniors. But here's what almost no one tells you. The U.S. doesn't actually grow enough avocados to feed itself. According to the USDA, over 80% of avocados consumed in the U.S. come from Mexico, and in 2025, that dependence has started to backfire. Why? 2 reasons. First, severe drought and water restrictions have hit Mexico's avocado farms hard. Yields are lower. That means fewer shipments. Second, the latest wave of tariffs has pushed up import costs, creating delays at border crossings and raising wholesale prices. A recent report from Reuters warned that avocados could become one of the hardest-hit foods if trade restrictions continue, not because they'll vanish, but because the cost will push them out of reach for many families. At Walmart stores across the country, the price of a single avocado has crept up to $1.49, sometimes more in urban areas. That's nearly double what it was a year ago, and yet there's no sign. No explanation, just a quiet shift in your receipt total. It's not enough to trigger panic, but it's enough to make you hesitate, enough to make you put just 1 in the cart instead of 3. Or skip it entirely. You're not imagining this. In homes where avocados were once a symbol of health and freshness, they're now becoming a symbol of economic tension. Because when even the foods we rely on for nutrition and comfort start to slip away without a sound, it's not just inflation anymore. It's erosion. Slow, subtle, silent. And Walmart, once a place for everyday affordability, is simply letting it happen. They can't stop the droughts. They can't avoid the tariffs. But they also won't tell you. They'll just keep stocking fewer avocados at higher prices while you decide whether that creamy green slice is still worth the cost or if it's become another quiet luxury. Number 2, cheese. Walk through any Walmart dairy aisle and you'll see it blocks, slices, shredded bags, sandwich singles, cheese in every form, every brand. It's always been one of those foods that felt reliable, familiar, affordable. You don't have to think too hard. Whether it's taco night, grilled cheese for the kids, or a few slices as a quick snack, cheese was always just there. But recently, you may have started to hesitate. Not because you stopped liking it, but because the price keeps rising in a way that doesn't feel random, and no one seems to be explaining why. Here's what most shoppers don't realize. America doesn't produce all its own cheese. In fact, according to USDA and retail tracking data, nearly 30% of cheese on Walmart shelves comes from imported sources, including Canada, Italy, France, and Mexico. And in 2025, that's turning into a major issue. Why? Because international dairy trade is being quietly squeezed by 2 forces: global tariff shifts and climate instability. Earlier this year, the U.S. added new import tariffs on European and Mexican dairy products, including certain cheeses. At the same time, major producing regions in Europe have faced rising heat waves and raw milk shortages. The result? A sharp decline in international supply and a sudden bump in costs for American retailers like Walmart. Inside stores, you might have noticed it already. That shredded bag of sharp cheddar that used to cost $2.97 is now $4.12. Store-brand cream cheese? Up 18% this year. And specialty cheeses? Forget it. Many of them are either out of stock or now priced like premium imports, even if they were considered basic just a year ago. But it's not just the number on the shelf. Portions are smaller. Packaging looks identical, but inside there's a little less. And in some cases, the flavor doesn't hit the same because some brands have quietly changed their ingredients to cut costs. Still, Walmart stays quiet. There's no sign saying import costs rising, no breakdown telling you why the price changed. Just a slow drift upward, one dairy product at a time. And for families with kids, seniors on a budget, or shoppers trying to make healthy meals work, cheese suddenly feels like an emotional decision. Do I grab it or let it go this week? Because when even basic comfort food starts feeling like a luxury, it's not about cheese anymore. It's about erosion. A slow breakdown of what used to feel certain. Walmart doesn't need to say it out loud. The shelves say it for them. And you, the shopper, are left with the growing sense that even your quiet favorites are slipping just out of reach. Number 3, coffee. You know the feeling. That moment every morning when you stand in the kitchen, half awake, waiting for the coffee to brew. For most people, it's not even about taste anymore. It's a ritual, a reset, a quiet few minutes to collect your thoughts before the noise of the day begins. For years, grabbing a bag of ground coffee or a big canister of store-brand roast at Walmart was easy. Cheap, dependable, familiar. But now, something feels different. The price tag looks heavier, the aroma feels weaker, and the coffee just doesn't hit the same. You're not imagining it. In fact, you're not alone. According to the National Coffee Association's 2025 report, over 63% of American shoppers say coffee prices have become unreasonably high in the last 18 months. And Walmart shoppers in particular are starting to feel that pinch not just in their wallet but in their morning routine. So what changed? Here's what they won't say on the shelf tag. Over 75% of America's coffee is imported, mostly from Brazil, Colombia, Vietnam, and Honduras. But 2025 hasn't been kind to those regions. Droughts, labor shortages, and international shipping delays have all piled on. Then came the tariffs, a 10% hike on imported agricultural goods, including green coffee beans. That's made everything from cheap store brands to name brand favorites more expensive to stock and harder to keep consistent. But that's just the surface. What's happening behind the scenes is more frustrating. To keep prices low, many brands have quietly started mixing in filler ingredients, things like roasted soybeans, corn, and artificial flavoring, while still slapping 100% Arabica on the label. The result? You're paying more for something that tastes less like coffee. It's weaker, the flavor fades faster, and even after 2 cups, you don't feel as alert. Walmart doesn't stop stocking it. They just line the shelves with bags that all look the same and leave you guessing. That old $5 bag of great value coffee? Now it's $7.49 in many states. The big can of Maxwell House? It's smaller than before. Even the premium brands that used to feel like a treat now seem diluted, both in content and quality. It's not just a price shift, it's a trust issue. You didn't change. Your taste didn't change. But the product did. Silently, gradually, and the morning comfort you once relied on has started to feel more like a compromise. For seniors on fixed incomes, busy parents, or anyone trying to keep mornings predictable, coffee was supposed to be the one thing that never let you down. But now, even that feels uncertain. And Walmart, the store that once symbolized affordable consistency, has become a place where your first cup of the day comes with questions. You still buy it. You still brew it. But somewhere deep down, you know this isn't the coffee you remember. Number 4, spices, garlic, and teas. They're the small things you don't think about: a dash of garlic powder, a pinch of cinnamon, a tea bag dropped into hot water at the end of a long day. These aren't big grocery items. They're background ingredients, quiet comforts, things that bring warmth, smell, flavor, the finishing touches that make a kitchen feel like home. But what if those quiet ingredients suddenly started slipping away? What if you walked into Walmart one day and realized the little things have gotten just as expensive, just as uncertain as the rest? Here's what most people don't know. The US depends heavily on imports for nearly all of its spices, teas, and garlic. According to USDA import data, Over 80% of America's spices and dried herbs come from just a few countries: India, China, Vietnam, and Indonesia. The same goes for tea, with China and India controlling the global supply. And garlic? Nearly 90% of dried and powdered garlic on U.S. shelves is imported from China. That's a fragile setup, and in 2025, it's starting to crack. The problem started quietly. New tariffs on Chinese and Southeast Asian goods, including agricultural imports, went into effect this year. Suddenly, the supply chain behind your cinnamon, cumin, ginger, and garlic powder got tangled in cost increases and shipment delays. Retailers like Walmart were forced to adjust, not by making announcements, but by raising prices, reducing stock, and quietly swapping out products. That jar of garlic powder that used to cost $1.98? It's now $3.29 in many stores. And the bag of black tea that lasted your family a month? Shorter supply, smaller quantity, higher price. But here's the part that hits harder. Some of these changes aren't just financial, they're physical. Shoppers have started noticing new blends replacing pure spices, garlic powder that doesn't taste as strong, cinnamon that smells dull, teas that lose their aroma halfway through the cup. That's because lower quality substitutes are now entering the market. Fillers mixed into what used to be trusted single ingredient staples. It's still labeled garlic or tea, but it's not what it was. And Walmart isn't stopping it. They're just letting it happen. You don't notice it at first. It's slow, subtle, a slightly flatter taste in your stew, a weaker cup of tea. Until one day, the whole meal feels off, not because you changed how you cook, but because the ingredients quietly changed on you. The emotional toll builds in silence. For many families, spices and teas are tied to culture, passed down recipes, soothing traditions, rituals of healing or relaxation. When those ingredients disappear or get diluted, it's not just about cost. It's about loss, a quiet kind of loss that no receipt can measure. Walmart won't explain this. They'll just keep updating the shelf with fewer options, unfamiliar brands, and higher price tags. You'll stand there, staring at a row of seasonings that once brought life to your meals, and feel the tension of deciding whether to keep that flavor or let it go. Because when even the smallest, cheapest things become a question mark, it's no longer just about groceries. It's about control. And what slips through your fingers when no one warns you it's going missing. Number 5, olive oil. You've probably done this without even realizing it. Walked into Walmart, grabbed your usual bottle of olive oil, then stopped mid-motion as your eyes caught the price tag. It used to be automatic, a kitchen staple, heart-healthy, reliable, and never outrageously priced. But lately, something feels off. The bottle looks the same, the label hasn't changed. But the cost? It quietly climbed while no one was looking. And now, you find yourself hesitating over something as basic as the oil you cook with. Olive oil was never considered a luxury in America. It became a trusted alternative to butter, a base for vinaigrettes, a symbol of clean eating. But what most shoppers don't know is this: over 95% of the olive oil sold in the U.S. is imported, mostly from Spain, Italy, Greece, and Tunisia. And in 2025, that global reliance is coming at a cost. The problem began with the climate. A historic drought across southern Europe in late 2024 devastated olive harvests. Spain, which produces nearly half the world's olive oil, reported a 56% drop in output. That alone triggered panic in the international market. Then came the ripple effect: lower exports, soaring wholesale prices, and in the U.S., new tariffs on imported Mediterranean agricultural goods. What started as a crop crisis turned into a supply chain squeeze. And Walmart? They didn't stop selling it, they just updated the shelf tags. That 500 milliliter bottle of great value olive oil that once cost $3.47, in most stores it's now $5.38, sometimes more in coastal cities. The premium brands? Nearly double that. But there's no sign, no announcement, no due to import disruptions note on the shelf. Just a quiet new number that shows up on your receipt, week after week. And it's not just the price. Some bottles that once read 100% extra virgin are now labeled olive oil blend, a vague mix that often includes canola or soybean oil, reducing quality without reducing price. For shoppers trying to cook healthy meals, especially for seniors avoiding animal fats or families sticking to Mediterranean diets, the choices have started to shrink. The trust? Fading. You might have noticed smaller bottles on the shelf, Walmart reacting to price hikes by selling less for more. Or maybe you've seen fewer store brand options replaced by imported blends that sound familiar but taste different. You still buy them, hoping they're close enough. But the doubt lingers. Because olive oil was supposed to be a good choice, a stable one. And now, even that feels uncertain. For the first time, you're asking, can I afford this? Can I trust it? Can I stretch it one more week? Walmart won't tell you any of this. They don't have to. They just update the barcode and leave you to decide whether a splash of health on your salad is still part of the plan or the next thing you quietly give up. Number 6, bananas. You probably walk past them every time, bright yellow, stacked in bunches, sitting right at the front of Walmart's produce section. Bananas have always been there, always cheap, always available. One of the only things in the store that felt immune to inflation, immune to chaos. You didn't have to check the price. You just picked up a bunch and moved on. But lately, that moment feels different. You pause. You glance at the price tag. You notice they're not as ripe, or maybe the shelves aren't as full. Something is changing, and most people don't even realize how deep it goes. Bananas have never been just another fruit. For millions of Americans, they're a daily essential, quick breakfast, easy snack, school lunch staple, affordable, convenient, soft enough for babies, gentle enough for seniors. But here's the part no one talks about. America doesn't grow its own bananas at scale. According to USDA trade data, over 90% of all bananas sold in the U.S. come from Central America, mostly Guatemala, Ecuador, Colombia, and Honduras. That means every single banana in your cart has traveled thousands of miles across borders, ports, warehouses just to get to your kitchen counter. And in 2025, that journey is no longer smooth. It started with the storms. This year, Central America saw early and severe climate shifts, flooding in Honduras, prolonged heat in Guatemala. Farms were damaged, crops were delayed. Then came the shipping bottlenecks. Labor unrest at key export ports caused backlogs. Containers sat for days. Trucks were rerouted. Add on top of that the new tariffs on imported agricultural goods, and suddenly the world's most reliable fruit became unstable. Behind the scenes, Walmart was hit like every other retailer, and you, the shopper, are starting to feel it. According to internal retail tracking, banana prices at Walmart have risen by 19% in the past 12 months, the highest spike in nearly a decade. In 2024, a pound of bananas might have cost $0.59. Now it's $0.74 and creeping higher in some regions. That may not sound like much until you realize what it means. Bananas were the last unspoken symbol of affordability, the fruit you could always count on, the price that never shocked you, until now. And it's not just the cost. Have you noticed the quality? More bruised spots, batches that ripen too fast or too slow. That's not your imagination. That's what happens when the supply chain starts to bend. Walmart can't print signs that say, "Banana delay due to Honduras flooding." They just put out what they have, and you, the shopper, lower your expectations quietly, without complaint. Because what are you going to do? There's no replacement. You can't switch to banana-flavored toast. You can't grow them in your backyard. And there's no generic substitute that offers the same nutrition, convenience, and cultural familiarity. Bananas are just bananas. And that's what makes this shift so dangerous. Walmart doesn't warn you. They don't tell you the fruit you've trusted for decades is caught in a global storm of tariffs, weather, and trade policy. They just keep raising the price little by little until even a basic bunch makes you hesitate. It's easy to ignore the warning signs when they come wrapped in yellow peel. But when the most dependable fruit in America starts feeling like a quiet risk, you realize this isn't just about groceries anymore. It's about how fragile everything really is, and how quietly the floor can shift beneath your feet even in the banana aisle. So what do you do when even the most basic foods, bananas, olive oil, garlic, cheese, begin to feel uncertain? When the items you've trusted your whole life start shrinking, changing, or quietly disappearing, and no one tells you why? You pause, you adjust, you tell yourself it's temporary. But deep down, a new question starts forming, not, "What can I afford?" but, "What will vanish next?" That's not paranoia. That's reality in 2025. Because the truth is, this isn't just about food anymore. It's about control. It's about what happens when the systems we depend on, supply chains, imports, pricing, honesty begin to fray without warning. When the quiet corners of the grocery store become reminders of how much we've already lost and how little anyone's saying about it. If any part of today's video made you feel something, even a moment of recognition, then you're not alone, and you're not imagining it. That's why this channel exists. To show you what's changing before it disappears, to track the truth that won't be printed on shelf tags, and to give you a place where the silence ends. So if you've ever stood in a Walmart aisle and felt that quiet panic like something's wrong but you can't explain it, hit that subscribe button, not because it helps us, but because it helps you stay one step ahead. Because this isn't the last shift, it's just the beginning.